Great. Okay. All right, guys. So we've got 4 people watching, which I'm super pumped about. I thought I was only gonna have 1. Still worth it. But so kind of a overview of what I'm gonna go through. I don't want to take too much of you guys' time. Hopefully this is gonna max out at about 15 minutes. But we're just gonna go through a very light warm-up. I promise it will be light. And then I'm gonna go through a couple activation movements. I picked kind of 2 ones that I thought were really important. It's gonna be a glute bridge and a scapular wall hold. I'll kind of go over the importance of activation movements once we get into it. And then once we go through that, we'll get into our static stretching, okay? So I'm gonna start off with the wrists, gonna work kind of the forearms and the triceps, and then I'm gonna go into the shoulders, neck, and chest area. Then we're gonna go down to our hips and glutes and hamstrings, and then we're gonna finish out with some ankle stretching / mobility, okay? So let's go ahead and get started on our warm-up. It's gonna be, I promise, nothing crazy. We just wanna warm up our muscles before we start stretching to prevent any sort of tearing. You always wanna have warm muscles before you stretch, okay? So we're gonna start off in our tabletop position. If you guys can see me. And we're just gonna get in some bird dogs. So we're gonna extend opposite leg, opposite arm. Bring that knee to our elbow. Let's get in 6 on each side. Really try to keep it controlled, keep that back flat. This is also a really great exercise if you have lower back pain. You help strengthen the muscles in your back, help with alignment. All right. Next, we're going to go into our cat-cow transition. So this is another great movement for your back. So we're going to drop our stomach down to the ground and lift our chin up to the ceiling. And then we're going to round that back at the top and drop that chin down to the ground. Let's transition through this 4 times. Take your time. Okay, next we're going to go into our down dog. So let's go into our high plank. And then we're going to push our hips up to the ceiling. Try to keep those heels flat on the ground. And then we're going to drop those hips down to the ground. Stay on those toes though, and really try to press your shoulders up to the ceiling. All right. Back to down dog. Really push that weight through the palms of your hands. And then drop those hips. We're going to transition 2 more times. Hips back up into down dog. And drop those hips. Really try to open up that chest, bring those shoulders back. All right, one more time. Push those hips up to the ceiling. All right, and drop those hips down to the ground. All right, you guys can relax. And we're gonna go ahead and stand up to our feet. We're gonna get those feet under our hips and just get in some nice load and controlled air squats. We're gonna do a total of 8, okay? All right, we've got 2 more movements in our warm up and then we're gonna be done. So let's hinge over at those hips. Point those thumbs up to the ceiling. Let's get in 5 keys. At the top, I want you guys to really pause and try to squeeze your shoulder blades together. And then let's go into 5 Ys. And 5 Ws. All right, guys, last movement in our warm-up. Once again, let's get those feet under our hips, and let's get in 5 good mornings. Push those hips back to the wall. Soft bend in your knees. All right. So as I said earlier, I wanted to go over a couple activation movements. Activation movements are something that you're gonna wanna do before your workout, but they're really important because they help to turn on or activate sleepy muscles that can cause muscle imbalances, which can then cause tightness or pain in your joints, okay? So 2 of the biggest ones, a lot of people either have lower back pain or knee issues. So a lot of times that can be caused from sleepy glutes, all right? So we're more quad dominant with our movements. So when we squat or do lunges, our quads take over and our glutes just kind of sit there, right? So what happens is our hamstrings and IT bands become overly tight, which can pull on our pelvic bone, causing like a pelvic tilt, all right? So that's can cause some lower back pain. Also, tight hamstrings, tight IT band can pull on your knee and cause some knee issues as well, okay? So we want to activate those glutes. The best way that I found to do this is gonna be a glute bridge, which we'll do in a second. And then the second activation exercise is gonna be a scapular wall hold, okay? So this is gonna help activate your lats, your traps, and your delts, all right? So this is gonna help if people have shoulder pain, which I know is a big issue, okay? So going into those glute bridges, I know you guys have seen these. We do these a lot in warm-up, but we're gonna go over them, break it down just maybe a little bit more in depth. So we're gonna go ahead and go down to the ground. I'm sure you guys can see this. Okay, so we're gonna go down to the ground. We're gonna walk our heels in. We wanna try to push our lower back into the ground. So a lot of people naturally have that curve to their spine. So for me, I can fit my hand underneath my back. We don't want that for the glute bridges. We wanna push our lower back into the ground so that you can't fit your hand underneath, okay? And then we are going to point our toes up to the ceiling, and we're gonna push through our heels into our glute bridge, okay? So this is going to, you should feel this in your glutes and maybe a little bit in your hamstrings, but primarily in the glutes, okay? So let's go ahead and just get in 5 of these glute activations. I want you guys to focus on pausing and really squeezing at the top. Feel those glutes firing. Okay, so one more activation exercise is gonna be the scapular wall hold. So I'm gonna bring you guys over to the wall. Hopefully you guys can see this okay. Try to do it at an angle here. Maybe that'll be better. Okay, all right, so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna lean my back and my hips up against the wall. I'm gonna have 90-degree angle bend in my arms. I'm gonna push my triceps and my elbows and my shoulders back into the wall. Really squeeze. You should feel all the muscles in your back and shoulders starting to activate, okay? So we're just gonna hold it for about 10 seconds. All right, relax. We're gonna go one more time for another 10 seconds, and then we'll be done with our activation stuff. All right, going in 3, 2, 1. Okay, all right, you guys can relax. That's actually really hard. My arms were like shaking. So, hopefully that gives you guys just a couple of tools in your tool belt for activation exercises. And let's go ahead and move into our static stretching, which is what this is supposed to be about. So like I said, we're gonna start with our wrists and forearms. So let's get into our, okay, I wanna make sure you guys can see me. Let's get into our tabletop position. I'm gonna take my palms, lay them on the ground, point my fingers towards my heels, okay? All right, and then I'm just gonna rock in a circle, going to the left, really trying to get a full range of motion through those wrists, okay? So I'm gonna do this a total of 5 times. And then I'm gonna switch directions. You guys can take your time with this. It really doesn't need to be fast. Okay, so we're gonna stay in that tabletop position. Keep those fingers pointed towards your knees, and we're just gonna sit back towards our heels. Try to keep those palms, you can see my palms. Try to keep those palms in contact with the ground, okay? Once you feel a good stretch, I just want you guys to sit here for about 15 seconds. So stretching out your wrists can be really beneficial, especially if you're having some elbow pain or elbow movement pain. So it kind of helps stretch out those forearm muscles, which can actually become really tight when you're doing a lot of grip exercises, okay? So working through our arms, you guys can go ahead and sit up. We're gonna take our elbow, we're gonna pull it towards our ear, and then we're gonna try to resist our hand that's pulling our elbow to our ear. And you're gonna get a little bit of a deeper stretch in your shoulder and in your tricep. We're gonna hold this for about 15 seconds. All right, and we're gonna switch arms. All right, you guys can relax. So we do a lot of shoulder work in our gym and a lot of chest stuff. So we're gonna have a lot of really tight shoulders and chest. So one of the best ways to stretch out our chest is just gonna be reaching behind, grabbing your hands. Wherever you feel the stretch out, that's great. If you can kind of lift your arms up to the ceiling. We're gonna hold this for about 15 seconds. This can also stretch out your forearms as well. I don't know if you guys feel it there, but I do. All right, so what we're gonna do here is I'm actually going to switch my grip. So I was holding it like this. I'm gonna switch my hands, hold it like this, okay? we're gonna feel a little bit more in your other arm. So we're gonna hold this for another 15 seconds. All right, you guys can relax. So we're gonna bring our arm across our chest. This is gonna kind of stretch out the back of our shoulder, which can become very tight. So we're gonna keep our arm straight, and then we're gonna pull this arm in with our opposite arm, okay? We're gonna hold this for about 15 seconds. All right, let's switch arms. All right, you guys can relax. We're gonna move on to our hips and our glutes. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna extend my left leg, and I'm gonna cross my right leg over that left leg. I'm going to pull my right knee, my right knee into my chest, and then I'm gonna reach back with my right hand, okay? You should really feel this in your hip and glute. Hold this for about 10 more seconds. All right, let's switch legs. All right, guys, we're gonna keep the same kind of setup. I'm just gonna bring my knee up, but I'm still gonna stay sitting up, okay? So this is just gonna be a little bit of a deeper stretch in that hip. It's also a good stretch for your hip flexor. After a few seconds, if you feel the tension kind of start to subside, you can walk your heel in and get just a little bit of a deeper stretch. All right, about 5 more seconds. All right, guys, let's switch sides. So remember, we're gonna cross my right foot over that left knee and then bring that heel in towards my butt. All right, got about 5 more seconds left. All right, guys, we are going to lay all the way down on the ground. You guys can see this. I'm gonna take my right knee and I'm gonna pull it all the way towards my chest. This is a really good hip flexor stretch. If you have any knee issues, it can sometimes be a result of tight hip flexors. So if this is a pretty good stretch for you, it might be the result of tight hip flexors. right, you guys can go ahead and sit up. So we're gonna stretch out those hamstrings. Most people have tight hamstrings, so we're gonna spend a little bit more time stretching these out. So what we wanna do is we wanna point our toes up to the ceiling. It's gonna get a much deeper stretch, a much more full stretch. You'll feel a little bit more throughout your whole hamstring area and even under your knee, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna lean forward towards our toes. So we're gonna take a little bit longer here, maybe 30, 45 seconds. I want you guys to just lean forward till you guys feel a stretch. Then once you feel that tension start to subside, I want you to lean a little bit more into those toes, okay? I'm going a little bit deeper. All right, guys, about 10 more seconds of this. Okay, so an extra stretch I'm going to throw in here is we're going to do, it's kind of an older stretch. It's the butterfly stretch, but this is going to stretch out your groin area, which we don't do very often. So we're just going to bring our feet together, and then we're going to push those knees down to the ground. And we just want to hold it in that same position for about 15 to 20 seconds. You guys can relax. So we are going into our last stretch for the day, or for our stretching session. So I'm gonna bring it over to the wall. This is gonna be an ankle stretch slash mobility test. So what we're gonna do, hopefully you guys can see this. Chris, I'm doing this for you, so you better be watching. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna kneel down into kind of like a lunge position. I'm gonna bring my toe up to the wall. And then I'm just gonna track my knee over my toe till it hits the wall, okay? I have a pretty good mobility in my ankle, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a step back, just about an inch, and then bring my knee forward until I get to the point where my heel starts to come off the ground when my knee touches the wall, okay? So when that happens, we want to just sit here, all right? Kind of get a good stretch in there. Hopefully that will help relieve some of that tension in your ankle, okay? Also, what I was saying about a mobility test, if you come here and you cannot bring your knee to the wall, you probably don't have the best ankle mobility, okay? So this is probably something you should be doing on a routine basis, all right? So wherever you feel that stretch, all right, guys, we are gonna hold it there for about 20 seconds, okay? So this is about where I feel it. All right, so I'm gonna do the same thing, the same kind of test on my opposite leg, because just because I have great range of motion in one of my ankles doesn't mean I have it in the other. So I'm gonna kind of go through the same process of figuring out where kind of that stretching point is for me. So it looks like it's about right here. I'm gonna sit, I'm gonna kind of press or lean into my knee to kind of help facilitate that stretch. I'm gonna hold it here for about 20 seconds. All right. Does anybody have any questions or areas that I didn't hit that you would like me to address with a stretch? Hey, Kristen. All right. Well, I hope this was helpful for you guys. This is something that you can do directly after a workout, or you can do maybe after a day of just kind of sitting around, you feel really tight. Just make sure you guys go through just that little warm up, get your muscles kind of ready for that stretch. And yeah, I hope this is helpful for you guys. Thanks for stopping by.